Welcome to another episode of the Chronic Comeback podcast. This week we've got on the show Pauline Mouldon. Did I pronounce that correctly? Yeah. Good. So just to give you a bit of a quick introduction, like the guests we've had on the show, Pauline struggled with chronic health issues for many years. And unfortunately, like others, she spent her time really trying to find out what was wrong, going from doctor to doctor, and being continually left frustrated when she was unable to find the answers that could help her get her health and her life back. Despite being in a seemingly hopeless position, Pauline carried on and did her own research and spearheaded her own comeback through diet and lifestyle changes. And she went from being completely debilitated through horrific joint pain to being able to now do yoga for a few hours a day, something which I personally resonates a lot because I have a lot of joint pain, and being able to do yoga for a few hours is just out of the question at the moment. So Pauline is an example really to me and to everyone listening to this podcast to keep going, keep believing that they can also we can all make our personal comeback. So I'm really excited for her to be on the show. She's now actually in a position where she coaches and helps other people in similar situations, and also is currently in Bali at the moment, which we've talked about before. I pressed record. I'm very jealous of. So I was in Bali just before the pandemic happened. So yeah, how's it going? How's the sun?
That's really good. Sometimes it's challenging because, as you can see, I'm sunburned quite quite easily. So, like everything needs a little bit of adaptation. But I'm really grateful to meet all the people here. Like the life is obviously really different. Yeah. And yeah, sometimes it's like really weird to see what's happening in Europe from the other side of the world. There is restriction here and a lot of struggle and suffering also because tourists are not there, and that's challenging also for Bali population. But that's really, I'm really grateful to be here. Yeah.
Cool. Right. Well, let's get into the story. What I like to do is just to go back before you start to have any issues, and kind of what life was like then, but then kind of the story into how you started getting symptoms and what you did to try and get better. And could you just take us through that story?
As Ehlers-Danlos is a genetic disease. So even when I was younger, I had symptoms. But it's like when you're born with some condition, some stuff, some symptoms seems normal for you. Like you stand up and you're dizzy, almost fainting, because you had that all your life. You never ask the question of if it's like that also for other people, which made it was difficult as a child because I was feeling really different. I was feeling like the misfit, like not really able to integrate. It was really challenging. I was obviously hypermobile, and at the beginning of my life, it was like really a gift. I became dancer. I made that my profession. But as the years was going, things are beginning to be worse and worse. My hypermobility became instability, joint instability, lot of massive pain, nervous system disorder, and everything is quite more and more challenging. And because I had my symptoms dismissed when I was a child, like, no, that's stress. You can't have migraine as a child. That's not possible. Or that must be stress. Or it's in your head. She's hypochondriac. All those kind of things that I hear a lot in other stories now was already there. But I think it's now, like around 10 years ago, there was like a shift happened. My body was injuring much more than normal. Like I was professional dancer, and even with that amount of like pressure on your body, you should not like heavily injure like 14 times like in a season. That's not possible. So, I have begun really to search, and it was like really important, like injuries, like knee dislocation, shoulder dislocation, uh, fainting. I was like low blood pressure, but really massive low blood pressure. So something was wrong, and I think the suffering was also coming from not having answer and thinking it was my fault, I think. So yeah, and at one moment the situation was not able to maintain, and this at that moment that I had to face immobilization, wheelchair, like mobility aids and stuff. And it was difficult because I was a dancer, and I just wanted to dance, so it was challenging. Yeah.
Yeah. You're the main symptom. Apologies. You said that it's a genetic disease.
It's a genetic collagen disorder. So generally, what is really weird with Ehlers-Danlos is like some of us are not diagnosed since they're really like around 30s, 20s, 30s,
Right.
and generally our children, like for example, I diagnosed my sister, my older sister, and my parents, because when they find out for me, they find out for the rest of the family, and
Right.
you are able to connect the dots.
Mm.
Like ooh, yeah, that makes sense. So we never like each EDS patients have different symptoms, so it's really hard to like sometimes see the bigger picture. And this is actually the problem. But in all chronic disease, when you have like stomach pain, you go to a gastroenterologist.
Yeah.
And when you have joint pain, you go to a rheumatologist or a physio. And never someone like have a step back and say, oh, what's going on there?
Yeah.
And really, I had a massive chance, like, to one day find a doctor for a cardiologist who, like, when he see me for effort test, like you have to run, and like my heart was, I had tachycardia, and it was really weird. So I went to the cardiologist, and this cardiologist actually test me, and in the middle of the test, he stopped the machine, he stopped everything, he said, can you answer a few questions for me? Yes, so I sit, and it was like 50 questions, so it was long. And at the end of the test, he said, you go downstairs. And it was the place where all the EDS people go. And this doctor is actually one of the doctor who treats a lot of Ehlers-Danlos patients and he has the ESM clinic now in Boulogne near Paris. And I just had the chance to find the doctor who said, I know that. It's not just like, that's not normal. And I know what you're living. And it was really weird because at the beginning, I had so many diagnostics. People thought I was Lyme. I have been tested. They said no. Like multiple sclerosis. I have been tested. They said no. Every time people say, I know what you have. But this time it was that. So yeah, like the end of a long diagnostic wandering. But yeah.
And so EDS, I actually haven't heard of EDS before, so I think it's going to be really interesting for people who there might be someone listening to this now and be thinking, oh wow, that sounds a little bit like what I might have. Is it quite a rare condition, or?
I would say rare, yes and no. Like rare because you don't have like the diagnostic is not like really official often. But I see more and more people having it actually, and because like it's really similar to chronic Lyme disease. People are thinking like some chronic Lyme disease may be like EDS and vice versa. But yeah, and also all the symptoms are different. There is different type of EDS, like from vascular to hypermobile to classic, like it's really different symptoms every time. So like, yeah, my sister have not at all the same symptoms than me. Like not so much chronic, like joint pain, more skin symptoms with like massive stretch marks. And so, yeah. For me, it was dislocation.
Okay. Yeah.
Like massive dislocation all the time.
Yeah.
Like when you put your feet on the floor and your knee pop out, you know that something is not right. So
Yeah.
So if that happens to you, like for those who listen to us, like, you know, like you should like search for an answer for sure.
Is it something you can actually get genetically tested for though? Like, could you see you went and got your genetics tested?
The test is quite like difficult, and you can't test all the form of EDS. But with a good questionnaire first, and by testing some like with like evidence tests, I would say, like the Brighton test, like the hypermobility test, stuff like that. That's not give you answer all the time, but that indicates some, you know, like if you have like really low blood pressure, dysautonomia, and that can be easily tested with a TIL test or like some new kind of machine. I'm going that kind of machine and say, no, my level of dysautonomia. And like Brighton test, like with like a lot of question about the symptoms that you get as a child, the symptoms of your family. It's easy to find out, you know, what happened in Lyme. Your mother don't have Lyme.
Yeah.
You know, when your mother have symptoms, your sister have symptoms, and you get having symptoms, like there is maybe something, you know, like, yeah.
So you got to that point where you, I say, you know, you say it was fortunate for you to come across that doctor, but I imagine you'd seen many doctors before, and so it was a matter of time, I imagine.
Yeah, and also like and that's what I find in my practice when I coach people today. It's like there is like kind of trauma being dismissed for so many years for some people. It's injuring something, not physically, and you can't see it, but it's actually really weird because the dismiss really never stop, and I'm sure you felt like that too. It's like even when you get diagnosed, like, and you say, oh, I have Lyme, or I have that, and people keep on dismissing you and say, oh, maybe you should just relax, or maybe you should like take melatonin, or, you know, like people don't really get like how it can eat you. And yeah, like I think like a lot of person I have get to doctor, like from doctor to the doctor, but also at one point I was scared to go. Like, when people say it's in your head, you have a panic attack disorder, it's a general anxiety disorder, this is all in your head, this is not in your body, you're hypochondriac, you search for attention, you know, all that came to one point where you don't want to see a doctor anymore. You know, you're scared to go there, because even if you know there's something wrong, like in your body, you don't really face another insult, because this is insulting. And yeah, and actually that's like kind of a loop. Less you find an answer, more you're anxious, and more you have like general anxiety disorder or social anxiety, which confirm like their diagnostic, and you continue on the loops like that, and it's a vicious circle, I guess. But I'm sure you felt that too.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it's really interesting what you said there. I think I had a similar kind of thing in that I would get, particularly if I was trying to get like go down a different kind of like treatment with someone or diagnose, and they would ask me how I felt after doing that kind of treatment. I'd always feel really awkward when I was just like, I still feel terrible, and there is just that mental side of it when also. I think that's actually more recently when I've been doing stuff like that. But then at the beginning, the times that you're talking about, I would say my like long story. I would talk solidly for about 10 minutes, telling them this long story. And throughout that story, I'd see their eyebrows raising and then just like looking like he's crazy. Like there's nothing wrong.
Like, please call the security. Like, you know, yeah, but that's quite traumatic. And there is a lot of like, I would say long trauma, and this like kind of diagnostic wandering is quite of a journey and a traumatic journey, and for a lot of people. And the moment you get what you have, it's also a kind of trauma, because obviously it's a relief because you have an answer, but also that your life is now changing in another thing, so it's really an ongoing process, and I can feel really the impact of that, and I guess if I became a coach is because I wanted to help people get through that process and not live what I lived to, even if we will all have to live that, to get, there is a way, there is a way of living that and not just surviving it, like thriving.
Definitely. So you got to the point where you found out what was wrong. Well, you I guess it's, just you say then it is a trauma, but then you're like, oh God, well, what's next? How, then you start looking into how do people get better? And then I imagine you start thinking, you're hearing about stories of people that don't get better and things like that. So like, could you talk us through your journey from kind of finding out, and then how long ago was that?
It was like around 6 years ago. Around 6 years ago. When they gave me the actual diagnostic and say, we are sure you have EDS. You have, and we're gonna test you to search the type, but we are sure. They don't really give you guidance. They give you the diagnostic, test to do, and send you home. And it's a long prescription, which include mobility aid, a wheelchair, a medical bed, morphine, or like massive painkillers. They gave me Modopa, which is an anti-Parkinsonian pill to not like have this muscle dystonia. So really with huge side effect medication. Like the list was huge, massive. And basically they said, because I was a dancer, so I said, okay, what physio should I see? I was still I want to go back dancing, like I want movement, that's my life. And they said, no, you will never dance to that level again. That's over. Your career is over. This is a wheelchair, this is painkiller, and that's all that we can do for you, and that's all that we will do for you. So, and I came home in total despair, sit there for days saying, this is not living. That can't be happening. And really searching was an act of defiance at the beginning. And and hopefully I found it really, and that's also why I want to coach now, because I found a psychotherapist who was a CBT therapist and say, what, if you don't try to find a solution on your own, you're gonna regret it anyway. So search, go for it. What if you don't find anything? You will be in the same place anyway. So go for it, search for and let's go crazy, try everything you want to try. And it was the best advice, because on the way I found not only things that was working, also things that was not working. But when you find something that is not working, you have a clue of why. You also find people who are there to support you, from yoga teachers to expert cardiologists, and you meet people with your disease, and it's also a really profound growing journey that I'm not grateful for. I'm not grateful to have EDS, and I don't wish for anyone to have this. But this is actually a journey when you open to it and to the people you can meet. that make you grow and change, and you can really get stronger. And I feel stronger than 6 years ago, for sure. Not just physically, of course, but also on a human, like my soul and my spirit are like obviously stronger.
So did you so what changes were the main changes you made, and like what were, because when you're telling me that, then kind of I felt for you. I felt for that person back then, because you know, for them to give you tell you a wheelchair, you know, this is the medication, that's telling you deep down your subconscious, not just like your you know, your waking conscious, your subconscious, that's telling you this is it, this is how you're living forever.
Like I came back really depressed, like on the age of I want to end this. Like really, and this is also really weirdly like, this is it, this is the end. Your life is over. For me, that was the only thing that I was hearing. And sometimes it just like, they killed me at that moment. And hopefully thanks, they did it, and that's maybe my chance, because they killed me, they killed also my doubt, my insecurity. They like raised like a warrior there, because like the other Pauline was not existing anymore. She was dead, like sitting all day, and something like I've raised, you know, like the urge for living. And I think this is it, you know. But at that moment, I was like really I had that phase of depression. And it's not like, and sometimes, you know, like people think that, oh, this is it, you are there and you're good. No, like every people, you have good days, bad days. And when you have a chronic disease, bad days, you really feel them, you know. They are strong. But yeah, life is still like something. I always say there is the same amount of potential of living in the dark moments than in the good moments. But in the dark moments, you prevent yourself to live. You're stuck there, and you don't really engage in the present moment anymore. And that's where I was. I was in a really, really dark place. And yeah, and for answer your question, today is like I live with no medication. Like basically my only medication is some supplements, vitamin D and vitamin C, massively vitamin C, sometimes some glutamine, you know, like really like some supplements, some protein at some moments, and that's all on the medication side. Like do yoga every day. I'm also a yoga teacher. I train to get handstand and innovations. I read dance, and I love to do it. So yeah, like I'm a breathing instructor. I coach people how to breathe, and you see, like obviously my disease don't prevent me to travel because I'm in Bali right now. So and I can live like in like a Bali, like really far away without caring to have to go to the hospital every 2 or 3 days. So yeah, my life is changed.
So what were the main changes you made to get to that point? So obviously they were telling you needed to be on all this medication, that you were going to be in a wheelchair, all of that. But then you've got to a point now where, you know, it's amazing the position you're in. What were the main changes you made?
I think like I could say it's therapies or Wim Hof, or it's physio or yoga, but I think it's really a combination. And I think it's changing mindset. When I coach, I never say to someone, this is what you should do. This is, you should try Wim Hof. Or maybe I will say, oh, you know, you should try Wim Hof. You will really have fun with it. You should try because you don't know, you know. But I don't know what's gonna help them. Because what's worked for me will not maybe work for you or for someone else. And what's worked for me today might not be working for me tomorrow.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like really, so it's really changing mindset. And when you try something with the right mindset, you have better results. That's true. And this giving you also more strength, mental strength, because everything you're gonna attempt, Wim Hof, all the therapies, yoga, everything, that's gonna be hard. That's gonna be challenging, and especially when you get like you have chronic symptoms or chronic pain. You like hypnosis have been really something really useful for me. What if I try to like have a timeline to guide you through my path? I have begun to touch to hypnosis to cut painkillers, because obviously I realized really soon that I needed to move, but with so much painkillers, that was not possible, and that was even dangerous because I was not feeling the pain enough to stop when I needed to stop. So I have like search, and I find hypnosis session and self-hypnosis session, and because it was working quite good, but all the doctors was quite far away, I have decided to train. So I entered a training of cognitive behavioral hypnotherapy in London. And it really changed my mindset really deeply. Meaning that learning about how your mind, how you process pain, how you can like touch to acceptance, compassion, self-compassion, trauma work, how you sometimes like have like maladaptive coping behavior and swap them to adaptive coping behavior, and have that willingness to fight, to re-engage to the person you want to be. All those like tools that you have like in this kind of training really helped me. And it, in parallel of that, I was doing yoga alone at home with some platform, following some videos. I entered some teacher training. So I made my own routine, yoga routine. And after came Wim Hof. So I did multiple times, like I did like a 2 days like testing journey, you know, that you can have in London or all over the world that do that. And I entered the 10 weeks program, the 10 weeks online, and also with an instructor. And after came Oxygen Advantage more recently. And I'm there. And after it's like adding to like watch your diet, cut processed food, cut sugar. I went also into 21 days of fasting, fasting clinic, reinterrogate my relation with food, cut inflammatory product from my diet. So yeah, sugar, gluten. It has been like really like a timeline. And I think for every people with chronic disease is like really that. Nobody will tell you, I did that and it worked. And that's, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess it's a little bit of everyone need to make his own cake, you know? And sometimes it's like, oh, I have eggs and those eggs have really worked for me. Take my eggs, you know, like, and you take like a little bit of everything. And after you like curate what's worked for you. And what is really important is to stay connected to and have a lot of awareness for you, your body, your mindset, because all your life when you have a chronic disease is about adjusting the cursor. So sometimes you're like doing Wim Hof for a period and that's really work for you. And at one moment that will work less because you need a little bit more of that and maybe a little bit more movement. And, you know, like, it's about like, riding the wave and being really aware and listening a lot to your body and your system to make balance, you know, give energy when you lack of it and give rest when you need to restore and find a way to stay in the middle, you know, like for me it's that.
It's really interesting that you actually a lot of the stuff you've mentioned I've also tried. I actually did a 3-week water fast as well. Where did you do that, out of interest?
I went in Spain in a clinic called Büchinger.
Okay.
And there have been one in Germany and Berlingen, I think, and one in Spain in Malaga. So I was in Malaga and I did the 21 days. So you can fast 7 days, 14 days, or 21 days. They have kind of program. And this is about therapeutic fast. So what have been really beneficial is actually they teach you a lot about nutrition, about food. It's not just you're there and you do nothing. So it's I found it really interesting also because I like to learn from the experience I make. This is what helped me after maintain and integrate that to my own routine. Now I fast like maybe once. I have 2 ways of fasting. Either I fast like once a week, like 1 or 2 days a week, or 5 days a month if I didn't fast this month, like so.
Yeah,
it depends of what I feel my body need at that moment. But yeah.
It sounds like to me, because I've done a lot. So I've done, as we talked about before, like I've done Wim Hof breathing, and I've done other kinds of breath work, and I've tried a lot of different things. But I think where I fall short is that because I'm trying loads of different things, maybe I'm not consistent with like focusing deep down on one thing and just being very consistent with that. Like with the Wim Hof breathing, I think I did. I've been doing it for quite some time, but actually doing it every day and committing to doing it every day consistently. And also, with fasting as an example, like, you're saying you make sure you do that certain amount every month. How do you maintain like that, I guess, that discipline and consistency? I feel like I'm very disciplined when it's a very extreme thing. Like I can go and do a 3-week water fast. I can do something where it requires something to me to be extreme, but when something requires me to be quite moderate and consistent, I think that's where I fall short. How do you maintain that?
I think extreme things are easy to maintain on short-term period because you're highly motivated and you can go into it. That's not meant to be maintained as deep, I think, for a long-term period. Also because you need to, especially when you are chronic disease, like you need to have so many elements that if you add like all that, Wim Hof and oxygen advantage and yoga and that, you need like a day of 40 hours. That's not possible. You can't. And also we have to manage our energy. I think for me, persistency and consistency is key, but that's not mean that you have to push yourself and like have a kind of you can like have a rest. That's okay, and that's also the amount of time. I continue to use Wim Hof, but I'm not especially going to do and the meditation and the stretching and all the program as he like advised it, because I'm going to integrate, for example, Wim Hof into some of my breathing sequence. So I do pranayama with like generally I begin with 5 or 10 minutes of breathe light of oxygen advantage. I do a breathing sequence according to what's my need when I do it, either like metabolism sequence or activation sequence, athletic performance, and according to my goal, because Wim Hof is a particular type of breathing and you can integrate that into other sequence. So the key is like, and that's why I like to learn really why it's work and how it's all about, because that allow me to take a part, a bit into my own routine. And to also feel what I need. I know like sometimes you're gonna like go out and want to have fun. Guess what? At one moment your body will tell you when you have to go back on track. This is what happened with chronic disease, and much faster than people with no chronic disease or chronic symptom, because we know for sure really fast when we have like not behaved good. Like your body is there to tell you, hey, no, like go back. I try to maintain yoga and breathing, and that's what it's important for me. Find the like your base, and after have ramification.
Yeah.
And more than routine, I like to talk about ritual. I like the term ritual.
Yeah.
Because they are more positive. When you are like, if I consider, and in some religion and yoga, you consider that your body is sacred. So when you enter your body and you enter your day, you should celebrate it. You have some kind of ritual when you enter a church or whatever. You should, like, when you enter your day, have that kind of respect for yourself and a kind of self-love. So talking about ritual and not routine help me. I have a morning ritual. I have a night ritual, but we have that when you was a child. I guess your mother was like reading you a book before going to bed, and after you had a kiss or maybe a glass of milk and stuff, and after you was going to bed, there was a process to finish your day and to begin your day. To have a little bit of ritual and say, this is sacred, and this is helping actually. And people who are around know that the morning breathing sequence is the most important thing of my day, no matter what happens. This is it, and after I can do whatever you want, but this is important for me. And this is also, I think, something that we don't do so often. When you take the plane, and I know that you travel quite a lot, they always say if the mask fall down, always put the mask on your face first before trying to put the mask on other people, because if you're dead, you help nobody. And because like that's what it's mean, like you don't help nobody if you're in danger. That's also why, like, when you assist people when there is an accident, you should like protect yourself, alert, and then try to help. Like, don't put yourself in danger. And this is it. If you are in a good place for you, you can engage better with the people around you, with your life, with your work. So sometimes we try to push ourselves, and this is not helping us, the people around, or our life. So yeah, I think it's our maintain that. It's like, remember me that this part is really important, and try to not put everything at the same time. Sometimes I go back to Wim Hof and I stop other things, and I'm fine with that. And adjusting the cursor, or my life right now is really different of my life in Europe. I don't have the same ritual. I change stuff, and it's about knowing yourself, I guess.
It's really interesting that you talk about the rituals and the routines in the morning and the evening. Like, when I look at kind of how I lived previously, I would set my alarm for the latest possible time. That meant that I could just get out of bed, get a shower, leave the house, get on the tube, get straight to work, so that I maximised the amount of time I could stay in bed. And then, in the evening, my rituals would be TV on my phone and TV in bed almost. So there wasn't any sort of, I thought it was really, really cool that you were talking about almost having respect for yourself and for the beginning and the end of the day.
And also, I think it's also about compassion. When you have respect for yourself and that level of compassion, sometimes it's about saying, today, I know that you need to stay in bed longer. And guess what? We're not going to do the breathing now, and that's okay. Have rest days. I think it's really good for persistence and consistent to not push you into the everyday kind of thing, and allow yourself to have like moments of rest, of holidays. And when you have a flare up, don't do nothing, because it will happen. When someone with no chronic disease have a flu, he don't move. They don't move. He doesn't move when he have a flu. Like nobody asks question about that. So, but I think we don't put the same level of pressure on ourselves when we live with a chronic disease. We want like to do that every day, and so we don't really like respect also the flare up and the days when we are down. And this is also it. consistency and persistence is also a way of respecting your own body. You know, like I don't think like I do Wim Hof every day or I do breathing every day. No, I respect and care about my body every day. And this is where I'm persistent, you know, like, and consistent. So sometimes it's about to say, I know what you need right now. Okay, let's go to the spa, you know, like, let's do something else, you know. This is it. And you know what? Some people like to stay in bed in the morning and they can have ritual in bed. They can like breathe in bed. They can do like some movement in bed, like, or maybe some meditation in bed. You know, me, like most of my day begin by a meditation and breathing, and I'm sitting on my bed, so I'm not moving. Like, you know, I have not put my feet on the ground yet, and I'm still like beginning my day.
Yeah.
So this is
do you think it's about and it's something I struggle with as well, like putting yourself and your own health first, because I think I just quite often put like work and, you know, achieving my goals, as much as I want my health more desperately than anything. However, there's something in the back of my mind saying, well, you know, you can't wait for that to come. You've got to, you know, focus on achieving your goals. And then for other people, it will be, no, I need to focus on my family. I need them to be, you know, safe. They put other people, you know, before themselves. So do you think a lot of it is really just what you said then about protecting yourself with the mask and stuff like that? It's really interesting. So
you know, like, it's really like interesting because what we face as people with chronic symptoms are the same that people with no chronic symptoms. But for us, what's challenging is sometimes we feel we are burdened for our family and that we can't work. We are not enough. Like, it was all those like pop-up thoughts that come up and like push you on the edge, and you force yourself to engage and to be there and to see people even when you're tired. What I try to do when I have like clients like that is to do an exercise called creative hopelessness. And it's about to ask, what does it cost you to do that? What's the cost on long term? Okay, to work right now, even if you're tired, or to go to the gym because you want to bulk for the summer, if you go to the gym, even if you're tired and you begin to have a flare up, it's gonna help you now. And on short term, that's work. What it costs you on long term. You know, like if in 3 weeks you are like in bed for 3 weeks because you have pushed your body so far, you will not work. You will not be there for your family. And this is the thing. This is not about thinking about us first, but putting our health and preparing our body and like treating our body with the amount of care we need, not that we want. Because most of the people would like want to like have like give less time for that, you know, like if we could get rid of the symptoms now, we all would do like, yeah, take it, you know, that's okay. But yeah, what it costs you. Actually, if you love your family, you should treat your body and know when to say no. And sometimes saying no to someone you love because you need to rest. Listen, I know that you want to like go out for a restaurant, but we planned that for the weekend, and I really need that rest to be ready for the weekend. So sometimes saying no, it's an act of love and care. And it's about remembering that. And sometimes saying, no, today I will work less, or I will take a day off for those who are freelancer. And I know it's like sometimes sounds difficult, but it's about, oh, I have this massive project and I know that I'm going to have to work really hard for the next 6 months. So I'm going to make sure I don't push myself so hard now, because I need to be able to maintain that in the time. So it's about being like long term. You know, like we was talking earlier about the short term effects, like we consume plastic and the plastic arrive in Bali like 6 months after And I could see that sea of plastic, and I saw, so my short term about, I use some plastic in London because it's easier for me and I forgot my cup, have actually consequences. And it's about I think for our health and life and bringing balance is about to see the bigger picture and to see the long-term consequences of your action of today. You have a relief now, but what it costs you on long term. If that costs you nothing, do it. If you might have a risk, evaluate the risk. And if that costs you too much, don't do it.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. You're speaking to me in a lot of different ways there. So your life obviously now is, well, I assume very different to kind of how it could have been had you not, let's say you didn't have the genetic issue, you would have maybe continued with your professional dance career, maybe you would have been back in France. What are you grateful for now about your life that you wouldn't have had otherwise had you not got a chronic illness?
Everything. I'm grateful for everything, really.
Yeah.
From the people I met to, I was dancer, loving dance, but when you are trapped into a world where performance is everything, and it's not even you like push yourself to prove to the world that you have values and you're worth it. And this, like you do stuff not by passion or because you love what you do, but because you force yourself. And I was in a really toxic environment, not even realizing it. And about this disease learned me a lot about living. I live a lot. I love meeting people, connecting with people. I travel, I transmit. I'm grateful for everything, even for the bad moments. Because, in AAs, like they have this sentence, "This too shall pass." This is true for pain, for difficult moments. This difficult moment, challenging emotion, pain shall pass. That's never stay. That's always moving. But the beautiful moment and life also shall pass. And that's bring you humility and that's bring you strength and hope for facing the pain, but also humility to face the moment of your life. And I met the most extraordinary people. All the people I met with chronic disease, and some with not, but especially some, like that's also why I decided to coach people with chronic disease, because they are my heroes. Like we are like the strength. Give me strength every day. I'm really, really grateful for everything this past and I've given to me, really.
Awesome. What would be your advice to someone listening to this right now who's in a similar position to what you were in, but previously, let's say before 6 years ago, in that really dark time that you talked about, or even in that time when you you got your diagnosis, but you were in that deep depression? What would be your advice to someone now, like mentally, like how do they deal with that? How do they get out of the position they're in?
First of all, to remember that life is worth it, that they are worth it to live it. They deserve. They deserve more than what doctors, people around promise to them, and also to surround themselves with positive people. Like sometimes people around you want to help, but they end up not really ending yourself because of the toxicity around and stuff. So surround yourself with positive people who are inspired with, like I had the chance to enter a yoga teacher training with someone I followed on internet, Dylan Werner, which is a great yoga teacher. I have been trained by him last summer, and it's really a great source of inspiration and really positive manner. some doctors, some people also with Wim Hof, like Patrick McCowan, all those people who kind of inspire you to get better. Like surround yourself with that positive energy, and also to remember that one size doesn't fit all, and try and find what's work for you. That means like nobody will ever tell you this is working and this is work like for everyone. You have to try and see by yourself to find what's work for you. So don't be scared of trying things. And like take advice, go on internet. We are in a like era where you can go on YouTube and find everything. And if you want to try something, try it. Go for it. And live, enjoy life no matter what. And last advice would be to not to appreciate the moment where you go wrong, because that's also learn you something. Don't be scared to be wrong. Don't be scared to have a flare up, because it will happen. Don't be scared of things that will happen anyway. And enjoy the life.
That's a lot of amazing things for me personally to take away, but hopefully everyone who's listening right now. I think that's a really nice place to kind of draw the podcast to a close. But just before I do that, if people want to reach out to you, I'm sure you could help a lot of people doing what you do, or even if they just want to ask any questions around EDS or anything like that. What's the best way of them connecting with you or reaching out to you?
They can reach out for me on Instagram, on both my personal account or the Resilience Mindset account. I have also a blog. They can comment it, and email address. It's also on my Instagram account. So massively, like I always answer. Like if you have a question, I will lead you to resources, or I'm like most of my days is about answering questions or doing consultation and stuff. Some people just need like sometimes a push or a first consultation with me, which is free, and just sometimes they need like a guidance or a push, and I'm more like, and I'm really enjoying to if I can be that person. I have find some people in my road, like on my path, that made me say to them, thank you, because of you I didn't give up. And I wish I can do the same and transmit that also to people. So Instagram is fine, email, website, everything.
And for those listening, I'll ask Pauline to send all of that information over to me, and I'll include it in the notes for the show. But if for anyone's listening, your Instagram handle is at Pauline Mouldon, right? Yeah, so Mouldon, and Pauline first name. Thank you so much for coming on. I always these shows are like therapy for me. I always say that, and I'm just starting my day here in London, and kind of is exactly what I needed to hear. So thank you so much. I know it will do a lot of good for everyone. I'm so jealous you're in Bali, and hopefully I can be there at some point soon.
Yeah. Cool. And thank you so much for having me, and really a lot of inspiring story also on your podcast, and I really enjoy listen to them all. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much.